Hey guys, what's up? It's Jake Orndorff, personal trainer from UNC. Here to talk to you about some mobility tips, right? Because sometimes, I see a lot of things posted online. It's more on the high intensity side of training, but we're all under a little bit of stress due to this COVID, and no one's really talking about like how to recover from that stress because stress equates to more stress. So one of the great ways I like to decrease stress is just go through some mobility stuff. And we're just going to go through a range of things from starting from our feet all the way up to our shoulders and neck. So we're just going to go through a little mobility flow to hopefully get you guys to where you guys can use this to, if you got sore muscles or if you just got some stiffness in places, or if you're just overly stressed and you just want to calm down. This is a good way to do it. So first, you're going to start down onto your knees, right? And if you need to, you can put a pillow underneath underneath your knees. Here, you're going to sit back onto your toes, right? You're going to stretch out the fascia in your feet, right? This can get really stiff sometimes too. It can feel really good. And if it doesn't feel good to have compression on your knees, just put a pillow right here, okay? Hold, take some deep breaths. Start to feel that tissue start to stretch out and relax a little bit. And do about 5 deep breaths per part, right? And then you're going to come down to all fours, right? You're going to get one foot out in front of you here, right? You're going to put that hand that's closest to this foot right on top of that shoe, on top of your foot there, right? Using this elbow as a wedge to this knee, right? You're going to scoot back this knee, right? Trying to get your knee, hip, shoulder, and head in a straight line. Sinking your butt down in. Right? Squeezing this glute, right? And then wedging this knee out really is going to stretch this adductor group as well as this hip flexor, right? Which are two areas that can really promote some problems if we're not careful, especially with your low back. So it's really good stretch. This is probably one of my favorites of all time. Good, and hold again. Same count, about 5 deep breaths. Right? And if you want a little more tension here, wrap your belly button towards this ankle, or this foot, or this knee, whatever makes you think about it, and you're going to feel a little more torque on this outside hip. Ooh, that feels good. Alright, switch to the other side, same thing right here. Outside hand goes on top of that foot, wedging this knee out, pressing into that stretch. I just want you guys to see this from the other side so you can see what I'm doing here, and then just sink down in. And it's going to catch all, right? We got the hip flexor going, we got adductor group here, and even some stuff that's clearing on this outside part of your hip too. If you have trouble keeping that foot down and wedging that knee out, right, there could be some stiffness there, so we want to make sure we address all those things. Again, trying to pull that belly button towards this knee side, right, and almost dropping your weight onto that back. And if you're not stretched out back far enough for that leg, it's going to be problematic. Good. 3, 2, 1. Since we're already focused on the hips, we're going to continue there with good old pigeon, right? So you're going to go ahead, drop that leg underneath you, right? Try to get it as parallel as you can to maybe this, like a straight line that would be out in front of here. I usually have a foam roller there to mimic that, but this one's very important too, because I see a lot of people do this kind of incorrectly, right? We want the tension on this outside of the hip. I'll do it on both sides where I'm pointing, but ideally you want this hip to internally rotate towards this knee. That's going to put a ton of stress onto that hip rotator, and it's going to feel really good. Now, if that's too intense, you can put a wedge underneath this knee, right, like a pillow or something like that, so that way you don't get as much torque on the knee. But this feels really good, and this will help again stretch out some of the hip rotators in your backside of your glute, and then also relieve back tension. Because if your hips can do more, the back has to do less. Does that make sense? That's like a key point to this. If the hips can do more, and they have the right range of motion, and they're not gummed up, the back doesn't have to take up the slack of whatever your hips don't do, okay? So if you're suffering from low back pain, this is a good one. Good. Again, about 5 breaths overall. I just want to show you on the other side. Same thing, right? Here. Spilling that belly button over this thigh, right? And then wrapping that hip there. And then this is where the wedge would go. If you had a pillow, you'd put it right there, okay? Good. Deep breaths. And relax. Awesome. Now you're going to face this way, right? I'm going to face this way so you guys can see this one. This one we're going to attack the adductor group here, right? So we're going to get kind of stretched out here, all right, in about a V, and then you're going to extend one leg, right? Arching your upper back up slightly, sink back into your heel, keeping this foot straight, and you're going to feel stress through here. Hold. Deep breath. That should feel really good. Good, again, five deep breaths there per side. And you know, you can watch this whole video, do the whole thing, or you can pick things out that you like. Really up to you. Whatever's feeling that you need more attention on. However, if you go through all these, you should be feeling a lot better afterwards, right? Good. And relax again, 5 deep breaths. Now we're going to go into what I call a 90-90, right? So we're going to get some of that basically hip external rotation, internal rotation on this side, right? And the idea is you want to get as tall as you can, right? You might feel some pinching back here. That just means this might be a little bit stiff. And then try to spill your belly button over top of this thigh, right? And come forward into this leg. All right, take a couple deep breaths there. Again, 5 deep breaths. And then sit back away from the angles, right? You're going to put your both hands behind you and then put pressure through the ground with this knee, stretching out this part of your hip, okay? So here, right? Deep breath, and then push it. And this should feel, you should feel some tension, and hopefully this muscle releasing a little bit. And I like to get warmed up prior to getting into this, so those stretches that we did prior to getting into 90-90 is going to help you feel more comfortable in this position. Good. And relax, switch the other side so you can see what the other side looks like, right? Again, trying to get this femur like to extend straight out from the pelvis, because if you're slightly over here, you're not going to feel the tension on the hip. You got to be straight out, right? And then you want your belly button to spill over that thigh, okay? That's going to really keep the tension there. Good. And then come back, sit back. Again, 5 deep breaths per side, putting pressure through the ground, through that knee, okay? Taking deep breaths. Awesome. And that just feels fantastic. I love this. It's definitely one of my favorites besides all my other favorites I listed already. Good. Cool, and then we're going to come back. Now we're going to get to a quadruped position, meaning all fours. And I want you to scan your spine, okay? So this is a nice trick you can do to see if there is any problems there. So you want to start from your low back, right? Moving one vertebrae at a time, scanning your back, right? Try not to get anything else involved, and then reverse. And see how much control you have over those segments. All right, and again. And it's really hard to focus in on each individual segment movement, but that's what you want to picture, okay? Good. And from there, now we're going to take it to a good T-spine rotation drill, okay? So you're going to be here, right hand's going to go behind the head. We're trying to hit the upper back this time, and you're going to sink down in and extend up. Pushing through the floor with this hand and then extending this arm, this elbow to the ceiling, okay? Getting as tall, as vertical, as cool as you can. And this is going to feel really good along the upper back. Good, and then again. All right, so again, about 5 to 10 of those. And then we're going to come to our tall kneeling position. I love this position, right? Because then we're going to get, hopefully, what I want you to do is get in tall kneeling, right? So your both knees are down on the ground. And then you're going to try to picture your pelvis as a bowl of water, right? and we're gonna tilt water out the backside of the bowl, right? So we're trying to tilt here, right? You might, if you feel some stiffness here and you can't tilt the bowl, then you might just need to spend some time here stretching it out a little bit more to try to get some get those hip flexors a little bit loosened. But ideally, we're gonna sit up here, tighten our butt, right? Squeeze, okay? And then when you squeeze, I want you to reach back to the opposing heel and lift up nice and tall. 1, 2, 3, and again, other side. 1, 2, 3. Other side. 1, 2, 3. 1. And do about 5 to 10 of these, and you should feel that psoas. It's that's up through here. And hip flexor stretch out a little bit, reaching back, pushing through that glute on this side. So if you're reaching this way, if you're reaching with your right arm, you want to squeeze that right glute really hard to get this to open up a little bit. Okay, good. Now we got through there. Now we're gonna get to half kneeling. All right, and this is gonna challenge your balance and base of support. I want you to pretend you're on a balance beam, right? Right. You want this knee in line with this hip, right? In line with this shoulder, align with your head. And then I want you to pretend you're on a balance beam with your feet, and you're gonna hold and try to stabilize. And this is just gonna wake up some of those stabilizing muscles of the hip, right? It's not gonna allow you to cheat if you're in that balance beam position, especially if don't wanna hang on this hip flex, right? You wanna sit back to make it to where it's all neutral through here, right? So that way it makes it challenging. And if you wanna make this a little more challenging, then start to rotate. Throw off your center of balance a little bit on purpose to try to wake up some of those stabilizing muscles of the hip. This should feel pretty good. Good. Then you go to the other side. Same thing. Line yourself up. Make sure everything's in alignment. You might find you have a side that's worse than the other, right? That's okay. We're trying to figure those things out so we know. And you can see I'm not faking this. This is for real. I'm really wobbling here. And this is why I need to work on this stuff. Good. And then that's it. I mean, we did it. So that was a good way to improve mobility. So the key things here, you want to have a soft surface so that way you feel comfortable being on your knees. And you can just kind of pick apart what you liked about which one. However, you go through that whole series, I'm hoping you'll feel better after you get out of that. It was a big emphasis on the hips, so hopefully those hips feel loosened up so that way that back can kind of do less work, right? So that way the hips can take on the brunt of the work of the day. But try that before you go to sleep if you're feeling stressed, before you work out, whatever it is. But either way, I'm signing off. Take it and use it. Take care.